Okie dokie. So, yeah, what I wanted to do is work through a design problem because you guys can go through the questions at the end of the chapters. That's easy enough. But I wanted to kind of, as all of this stuff comes together, start to see how it all comes together, so where everything flows. So Randy and I were talking about it using his facility there in, you said in Indiana?
Oh, you said Randy Lawrence. Yeah,
Oh,
my
yeah, Lawrence. Sorry, Lawrence. I said, I'm
yeah,
looking at
yep.
Randy's name and I'm talking about you. So, yeah. So, the first thing we would do is, well, I'll walk you through the way I do it.
Okay.
Everybody does things differently, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And so I've got a browser. I'm gonna go ahead and reduce that. Are you guys all seeing my browser here?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go into Google Maps. You can do this on Google Earth as well, but Google
Okay.
Maps is something that people are a little more used to. And what is the address of your location?
2458 West Olson Road.
Ocean or Olson?
Olson, Olson, Rochester, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Rochester, Indiana.
Yeah, it's on the river, so it's going to be very treated. A lot of
Yeah.
trees.
Okay, so this is bringing it up under Maps view, but if you hit the layer view, it brings it up like you're in Google Earth.
Okay.
And
And
this is it's a little,
that's
what
the
is
yes,
that?
that's the section. Yeah.
Is that the building? Boy, that was a good deal if you got that in
Yeah.
right there on the river, huh? Tippecanoe.
Yeah. That yeah.
Okay, so the property, I assume, is just this whole treed lot, nothing out here in the field.
Nothing in the field.
So you don't have much space here for solar, for sure. You've got a little opening where the house is. Is that a mobile home or is that a house?
It's not a mobile home. It's a small 1 bedroom cabin.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. And so it doesn't look like, I mean, if I'm just doing a glance at this, the
Yeah,
best
if
you
you
could hope for is a little tiny array.
yeah, because it's I mean it's small. It's very small. It's 1 bedroom.
So is there a possibility of removing a couple of trees or
Yeah,
to,
that's an older picture because the whole front is clear now.
oh, in
The
front
front,
between it and the river?
yeah. Well, you see where the river is of course on the back, but that front tree they took down early this year.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. And this is one of the limitations of these kind of systems is because it does rely on outdated data. And you'll remember if you look in the book there, it does say that that's one of the limitations
Yes.
of these systems of a remote assessment is you really have to go there. You can't just say, this is it. But they are useful for the first go round.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry, Jay.
no,
Oh,
go ahead. Go
that's
ahead.
okay. I'm looking at your screen. I'm trying to click on my screen, thinking I've got it. I've got that up. But if you click on the front, like on the street view, you can kind of see where the metal roofing, where it's you may get a better picture of what I'm trying to. What I was thinking about. Okay, you see the green.
Yeah.
Okay, so that whole tree is gone there now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
right.
That's
Yeah. Just trying to see if I can. I see. So this whole front area. So we do have a
yes.
space there. All right.
Right.
Okay,
And
so
that's
we'll,
what I ran into when I was trying to figure out. I'm like, I don't know.
yeah. Okay, so then let's go into PV Sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and just as if we were doing this, if we're doing a site assessment, and PV Sketch is a tool that I like, only because it's inexpensive. So what was the address again? It was
2458 West Olson Road, Rochester, Indiana.
He's showing the new PV watts. He's doing it on this guy's plate.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So this, you'll see that you've got basically the same picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, Jimmy, how you doing?
Hey man, how you doing?
Good, good.
Trying to improve my skills.
There you are. Yep. Okay. So you say this whole big tree is gone, so we can ignore it.
Okay.
At the moment. And so this is going to give me the house. Now I remember seeing this is the peak of the house here. So we'll define it. Do you know, maybe it goes about that far, do you think?
Looks about
further?
right. Yeah.
And then it comes down probably to about there.
That tree's not there anymore. Yeah.
Somewhere. Something like that. Okay.
Right.
Now, it's wanting to orient it this way. So I'm going to change this to what is that? 132? No. What would be, one? Yeah. So your azimuth is 222. 180 is true south.
Right.
But 122 is the direction it's going. The slope of the roof, let's just say it's a 20-degree pitch. We'd have to look at it. It's single story, right? So it's going to be about eight feet high.
Correct.
And it is a setback. So we'd have to go with 36 inches. Well, I'll go with 16 inches because that's what the here is. And but we have to make sure we've got 36 inches on the side and the top for fire codes. And there is no parapet height. So I filled in that information at the moment. I'm going to make note of the fact that it is a 222 azimuth, because when we go into PV watts, we're going to need to know that. Okay, so then we're going to need to pick some equipment before I can generate this. So the manufacturer of the mounting system isn't all that important. The module, you can pick a random module. It's better if you know what module you're going to be dealing with. So I'll just pick a Canadian Solar 325. And I'm going to assume it's going to be that your rafter system goes north-south. So the rails are going to go east-west, which means the panels are going to be portrait. You know what I'm saying? If the truss goes this way, like a traditional house from the south to the north, if you looked inside your building, your support structure, this is the way the beams are probably going, the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put your rails down, you're going to go across those rafters. So my rails are going to go east to west, basically, not true east, but close enough. So that means my rails are going to be going sort of, side to side like that, if I can. And so the panels go, the long side goes over the rails like that. So my panels are going to be portrait. So I'm going to pick portrait. And let's just assume we're dealing with N phase. So microinverters. So I'm going to pick those. And let's assume we're going to go with IQ8s.
Yeah.
All right. So I picked my products. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on generate design. And now it's telling me that with this particular house, with this size and those panels, we can fit 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we've got 16 modules, which is pretty fair size. It'd be a 5.2 kW system. Does that sound right?
I don't know if 16 panels will fit up there because it's pretty small. So maybe we were a little bit off. But for this,
Yeah.
we'll go with that.
Well, the panels are going to be about 3 feet wide. So we've got 8 in a row. So do you think the house is 24 feet in width? 24. You said it was about a 500 square foot house?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be too, I've gone too big on that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I know 16 panels won't.
All right, so let's adjust it. So we can adjust it here. I'm going to pull this back here. Maybe I made it just too long. So let's pull that back to there.
Okay.
And then we can regenerate the design. And now it's
11. Yeah.
I think maybe 10 is a better idea.
Yeah, I was thinking 8 or 10 just by my visual view of it.
Okay. All right, so we've got 10 panels on the roof. Let's just assume that's what we're doing. If it's 8, it's 8, but so we can move forward. So this system here with those panels, we're talking about a 3.25 kW system. All right, everybody clear on that so far? So we've gotten to there. Now, do you know how much electricity you use at that location?
I could let me grab see if I can grab a bill. Give me a second.
Sure. I'm gonna pull it's 2458 Olson. Let's see, he said that was in
Rochester, Indiana.
Rochester, Indiana. So if I go into PV watts,
yeah, I just bought it and I'm kind of in the midst of rehabbing and my wife pays all the bills. So
well, and you may not have enough history to get a good estimate of your electric use.
Yeah, because
although you were saying you're wanting to figure it out based on the Bitcoin generators. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that was my original plan. But like I said, if I was running those miners 24/7, I'm pulling 1,200 watts 24 hours a day. I'm way over, and there's no way 3,000 or 4,000 kilowatt system will do that. So,
well, let's see what it would do based on that. Because we're not going to prejudge where we are. We're just going to say, all right, well, this is what the system would do. All right, so I'm putting in the system size because we're saying it's going to be about a 3.25 system there. Putting in standard module, fixed rate, I'm only going to say, let's say about a 7% loss. And we knew that this is 222 azimuth. The tilt we left it at 20. So now I can come in and get my 4.39 would be your insulation. And this is telling us that this system, as it's been configured, is going to generate in the neighborhood of 4,447 kilowatt hours per year. Okay. So when we talk about per month, it's that divided by 12. So if you're curious,
I don't have a calculator.
I've got one, but my mind's still on trying to run those machines. But
300. It's going to be about 370 kilowatt hours per month. All right.
370 kilowatt hours per month.
Yeah. Now you say that the machines draw how much?
Let's do 12. Let's do 1,200 watts times 2. If I ran those 24 hours a day, that's
2,400
50.
watt hours. Watts times 24 hours, right?
Right.
So 2,400 watts times 24 hours is your
57,600.
yeah. So
hours.
57.6 kilowatt hours per day times 30.5 gives me 1756.
Yeah, I gave up when I saw that number this morning.
Yeah, 1757. So we're going to generate 370 and you're going to use 1757. So we're only going to be able to generate about what, 1/5 of what you're using to run those two machines.
That's what I was explaining to you earlier. It's like I could eat the cost now in electricity, just paying for what I'm using off the grid, and then recoup once the price goes up. So I mean,
Well, but let's continue on this because just to do it.
okay.
So if we wanted to go in and figure out what is our cost, well, with this particular system here, I can go this far with a solar array, and I don't have to pay. I can design the system to this point. Now, if I decide to go further and see how much is it going to save me, it's going to ask for my credit card. It wants me to pay it $4 to run this report. Or we can do $50 a month that allows us to do 20 projects per month.
Do the 50, Jay.
Yeah, do the 50. Well, I was telling Heather, I think I'm gonna try and get SOPEC to get a $50 subscription. So we can do 20 of them a month, and we can just piggyback onto that account.
Are you giving her access to it?
Yeah, oh yeah, I would for sure. Yeah. So,
Cool.
yeah, so I'm gonna talk to Matt about that and see, because I mean $4 a month or $4 per is not a big deal, but once you start doing 10 or more, it really would pay to kick it up to the 20 per month, because at the 20 per month you're paying $250 each versus $4 each. So just financial there. So rather than go ahead and pay for this, let me just show you one that's already done. If I jump into open a project, so let's say which one works best? Yeah, this one's one in Newcomers Town. So this would be something that you would see. This is a commercial project here in Southern Ohio. And this is a coffee shop. And it's a weird business, actually. It's a coffee shop and gymnasium. Not our weight room or whatever. I don't know what you call it, a gym, but guys go in and lift weights. They lift free weights and they work on the Nautilus type machines. So that's what this whole part of the building is all Nautilus stuff. And this building is like a sit down coffee shop type thing. So it's a flat roof. And so you can see we defined that area. And in this example, this is going to be a 31.6 kW system, and it's going to generate around 41,000 kilowatt hours per month or per year. This is designed with 80 modules, and I set it up as a solar edge, so it's got 3 inverters built into it. So after you've defined that and got everything laid out the way you would like it, and And this will show you that it's an azimuth of 168, roof slope of 10 degrees, height of 24 feet, setback of 48 inches. So that's kind of the way that is. Then we would go into the savings area. And what it's asked us to do here is actually put in the amount of electricity that's used off of the electric bills each month. Okay. So you just plug them in January, February, March, so on and so forth. And then the next thing you're going to do is how much is the cost of the energy? So you would take your electric bill and you would divide the cost by the amount of energy that's consumed. So, Randy, I'm going to put you on mute because I can hear him in the background there. All right. So anyway, so in this case, I took their electric bills and I found that they were paying around 22 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty high. So I plugged that in there. And then we estimated the cost of the system, and I put in a cost of $3 per watt. Now, $3 a watt for a system size that size is pretty high, but I wanted to I wanted to be conservative on this particular estimate. It may come in at 250, may come in at 275, but I don't think it's going to come in above 3, so I want them to have no surprises. So the system cost then takes the size times what I said per watt, and it's saying that the whole system is $94,800. So that's before incentives. Then you go in with the federal and with the different tax incentives. And in this case, the 30% tax credit, assuming this company pays federal income taxes, is going to be $28,000, $28,440. So even though the system costs $94,800, they will get back in tax savings $28,440. Then they're applying for a REAP grant. Well, the REAP grants are now 50% of the overall cost. So in this case, that would be $47,400. Then they can take modified accelerated depreciation. So as a business, they could deduct up to, well, there's a complicated formula, but basically the depreciation they can get is $16,922. And then the SRECs, if you sell your RECs, it's going to be $2,000 here in Ohio.
So their total out-of-pocket expense is $38.
It's not too far from that, actually. Yeah. $38. Yeah, you're right.
I was looking up top, and I'm like, there's no way. But when I saw that 50% incentive, I was just okay.
Yeah, because they're basically getting, and it actually works out better than this. And in Illinois, it's not unusual that you come back with a positive cash flow on a commercial installation because you guys get your RECs paid for 10 years in advance. So in a system in Illinois, you might walk away with several $1,000s to the good for installing a system on your commercial property. I know your property we're talking about is in Indiana, so that wouldn't be the case. But if you're,
I'm gonna Airbnb that. That's my fishing spot, or just to cruise up the cruise.
Sure. Well, you paid almost nothing for it, so
yeah.
Now this is a little bit not exactly 100% because you also have to factor in the fact that this grant is taxable income, so you'd have to pay tax on that $47,000. So in the newer system, we add that back in. So you end up with some out-of-pocket cost. But so then once you say, okay, let's create a proposal, well, then the system will automatically generate a proposal that you can look at, and it should pop in. What's the deal? Oh, no, how come it's not showing me my proposal? Oh, preview maybe. All right, come on. It may be because I've already generated proposals on this. Well, I can show you what the proposal looks like because this one's already done. Let me jump in over here. And this is the type of
Oh, dude, I was gonna say, did you freeze?
oh, I see. I'm in multiple. Yeah, let me. All right. Okay, can you guys, am I sharing the SOPEC proposal? Is that showing up?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So this is the proposal that we do for this particular project now. And it shows some of the information. It says it's a commercial project, the system size 31.6, the estimated cost before incentives, 94,800, production, the percentage of offset, we sized it at 120%, which is the maximum size you can go in Ohio. Put in a bit of descriptive here. We give them a little bit of background as to what these numbers constitute. And then we say 94,000 minus the tax credit, minus there's an add-on. It's called an energy community region. This one falls into that category as a place that's traditionally relied on coal mining. And so they get an additional 10%. Then we put in the REAP grant. Then we put in the tax on the REAP grant, depreciation, the RECs, and we end up with a net cost of minus $497. Now, one of the things about those PV sketch system is you cannot end up with a negative number. So you might have to adjust things a little bit so it comes out slightly positive, like $38. But the real cost on this is going to be minus $497 under that scenario. Assuming they don't get the REAP grant, then you're looking at about a $42,000 investment, which is going to take 5.6 years to pay off. The estimated savings over time is 182,000. Then we give some more description, but then you start putting in photos of the site. Take that off of the PV sketch. I usually like to put in like a picture of the front of the building, what the inside looks like a bit. Here's where the meters are located. And this one has 4 meters that are part of the project. And then what do the service panels look like inside? Are we going to do a load side connection? Are we going to do a supply side connection? For the larger commercial buildings, you're generally going to do a supply side connection. And then we have a lot of boilerplate information on here, who to contact for REAP grants, a lot of disclaimers. And then this is the report that PV Sketch generates here, where it shows the system, it tells the different number of products, shows the offset, $7,500. So it's a nice looking report for $4, to put out. And then we do the PV watt. We have the PV watt report that's generated there. And then we also include their electric bills to figure that out. So this is the kind of solar assessment report that I do when we're out doing, for a customer, something like that. Pretty detailed. It actually ends up being a 28-page report when it's all done. Most solar companies, I don't think, go to that extent. So
You said most solar companies don't go to that extent. Are you talking about like the website PV Sketch?
No,
In
well, this, I've added in a bunch of stuff, my overall, that first part of um, the, let me see, I shut that down, but
it's okay. I want to. So when you did that was an assessment that you did, correct?
yes, yes.
And
And it integrates PV Sketch, but all of these first 6 pages or so, or 7 pages, is just a template that we created, to add in more information, to make it in a little easier to follow format. And
okay,
then,
so the $4 give you the access to put all the information, pictures in, just to to do what you need to do to give the customer the assessment.
well, the $4 gives me this report here, starting on this page,
Mm-hmm.
and gives a nice visual of what we're doing and how it's going to pay back, and all of this kind of nice support material. You can even put in your system details. So this is typically what people would give them, is just that. But I have my own. This is just like a Word document that I then take some of that information and plug it in, just so it's a little easier to follow. Has a lot more information that I can add to it, descriptions, things like that. We do
Okay,
this
so
for the REAP grants.
I think my question was like, so this would be remote site access. This is the remote versus actually going to someone's house doing an assessment, manually.
Yeah, I go to the site to get these pictures,
Okay.
because this, so it's a combination of both. The
Okay.
PV Sketch can be the remote portion, but then you've actually got to go and see what's different. But if you're doing this as a business, you're going to get into situations where somebody calls you on the phone and says, "How much would it cost me to put solar in?" And you're going to go, I don't know if this person's serious or not. So I can do a remote site assessment, and it's not going to take a lot of time and a lot of money.
Mhm.
And then if they come back and say, yeah, I'm really serious, at that point, you can make the decision when you go out. When are you going to go out and actually look at the site? So after you've sort of pre-qualified them, then you're going to go ahead and do an on-site site assessment.
One more
But
question.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Randy. I'm just trying to get a hold. Now, Jay, just by looking at what you showed me and this whole layout, everything, but to get a better understanding of this, then or if you wanted to get into sales versus installation, then I would take your sales course as well. And that's the question I'm asking, like sales versus installation.
Yeah, of course, the sales, the first thing you're going to do is pre-qualify your customer. So you might do a remote site assessment, then you might do a on-site site assessment. And then it depends, different companies, once the sale's been made, you might turn it over to a design team who will actually design the system. In the larger companies and the smaller companies, you're probably the designer as well. So then you take it and actually design um, the system. So, for example, if we did the your site, and we already figured out it's a 3.25 kW system. So at that stage now, if you're going to be the designer, let's see, are you guys seeing a whiteboard? This is interesting. Yeah. So, all right. So here's your house. We've got the solar array, and we figured out it's 3.25 kW, right? 8 panels, And we thought we would use microinverters. Okay. So at this stage now, with a microinverter system, we then know enough that we're going to come to some sort of junction box. So this is going to be your junction box. And this likely might be a solar deck unit if it's underneath your solar array and it's on a shingle. If it's a ground mounted system, it might be a different type of unit. Maybe Enphase has their own kind of unit, but it's going to be a transition from the proprietary wire to the other wire, whatever other wire you're selecting. And did we say this was 8 panels or no, 10 panels? Isn't
10
that
panels, right?
10.
I think it showed 11, but 10 panels would probably
Yeah, I
be.
changed it. Yeah. Okay, so we need to transition. Now, the proprietary cable, the first thing we need to know if we're going to use microinverters is this microinverter that we picked, the IQ8, has 13 panels maximum in a circuit. We're not calling it a string because it's parallel connections. So with a 10 panel system, I could simply have one string coming in. Okay. One circuit, one branch circuit. But I still need to transition my cable because those proprietary cables are very expensive. So we're going to go into a junction box. Now, from the junction box, we're going to then go, oh, what happened here? That's a highlighter. Whoops. Yeah. All right. So from the junction box, we typically in an Enphase system are going to pop down to the Enphase combiner box. Now, it just turns out that the Enphase combiner box can take up to 4 branch circuits. But in this system, we're only going to be putting in 1. In normal course of things, you might think that I don't even need the combiner box because I only have 1 branch circuit. But with the Enphase system, all of the communication software is contained within the combiner box. So I really have to have a combiner box for this particular system to work. It also then serves as a place for other connections to be made, like if I have a generator or something like that. So I'm going to come in with one. What size wire do we need here between here and here? Well, some of that depends on the distance. But we do know that the reason why we're limited to 13 panels is because this is 12 gauge wire. So 12 gauge wire can handle up to, I think they figure like 20 amps. So 20 amps for 12 gauge. So if we divide that by 1.25, which is the D rate for the NEC, we end up that it's at 16 amps. And each of these panels generates something like 1.2 amps when you hook them up in a string. So it just sort of turns out that 13 of them times 1.2 gets us up to that 16 amp limit. It's 15.6 amps. So that's why you're limited to 13 in a string. It's because of the size of the proprietary cable. So in theory, we could probably continue on with 12 gauge cable, but my recommendation to you is to never use anything less than 10 gauge. So we're going to just go with 10 gauge wire here.
And 10 gauge is bigger than 12 gauge.
Yeah, 10 gauge is bigger than 12 gauge. And the cost difference between 12 gauge and 10 gauge is not that much. So let's go with the bigger wire. It saves, then you don't have to worry about voltage drop issues and things like that. So then from here, from the combiner box, where would we go? What would be our next piece of equipment?
Disconnect.
Yeah, AC disconnect. So this is going to be your AC disconnect. Where does that AC disconnect have to be located?
Within 10 feet of the utility panel.
Within 10 feet of the meter, the electric meter, that's
Yes.
considered the interface. It has to be externally operable, and it has to be well marked, okay, as the main disconnect for the solar array. So let's assume that our meter is somewhere right here on the wall. Our AC disconnect is going to be located close to that. And then from the AC disconnect, where do we go?
Inverter.
No, the inverters are already up here on the panels. This is a
Oh,
microinverter
micro
system.
inverter. Right. Micro inverter. Disconnect.
So now we just have to connect to the grid. And we typically, for a small system like that, would do that in the service panel. And the service panel is usually located inside the building, very close to the other side of the wall from the meter. So in your case, I don't know if your building has a basement or not.
Oh, it's right on front, right there.
Oh, so the service panel is inside or outside?
On the outside, right on the outside.
Right near the meter?
Yep.
Okay, so
No. I'm sorry. Service panel is in the basement. The meter is on the front of the. Yeah. Never mind.
Okay. So inside, yeah, because in California, for example, they often have the service panel outside, right next to the meter. You know, all the breakers and everything are just sitting right outside.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because it never snows, you know, or whatever. So anyway, so from our AC disconnect, we're going to go inside the house, and we're going to locate here on the breaker that's furthest away from the main, right? Because of the 120% rule. Everyone clear about the 120% rule?
Yeah.
So this meter is actually going to be connected to the main here in your service panel. So let's say that this house has 100 amp service and it has a 100 amp service panel. How many amps can we come in from our inverter?
How many? 120.
Yeah, so we can come in with a 20 amp circuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I've got 100 amps from the utility, 20 amps from this unit, well, how many amps am I coming in with? Well, actually, if we have 10 panels and each of them is 1.2 amps, so I would have 10 times 1.2, which would give me 12 amps times 1.25 for our safety margin, and 12 times 1.25 is 15 amps.
Yeah. 1.2. Oh, the 1.2 is the 120%. Okay.
No. And that's the 1.2 is how many amps each one of these microinverters produces.
Okay.
And I've got 10 of them. So I'm generating 12 amps. And then when I put the safety margin in, I have to size everything based on 15 amps. So in this design, I would actually come in with a 15 amp breaker. Well, that's well within the 120% rule. I've got 15 from my inverter, 100 from the array or from the grid. So I'm at 115, which is less than 120. So that system is designed okay as far as, you know, the NEC is concerned. All right. Does that make sense what we've done here?
It does, but I have one question now.
Oh, I'll bet you have two or three. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Like I
That's
said,
all right. No, this is the purpose of it.
now with 10 panels being there and this is being the microinverters, we're gonna have 10 microinverters for each panel?
Well, one for each panel. So 10,
Right, there was, yeah.
yeah, 10 microinverters in total. Yes. So if we're talking about a system cost, let's say each of our panels is $250. So 250 times 10 is going to give us $2,500. Each of our microinverters is, let's say, $160. So times 10 is $1,600. The junction box, let's just say that's $100. The combiner box is $700. The AC disconnect, let's call that $100. The racking system for a small system like that, probably in the neighborhood of $1,000. And then the wiring, let's say $400. So total cost is going to be 1,000, 1,500, 24. So for $6,400, is that right?
The addition is right. If I was gonna build it myself for the Indiana property, I just told my wife, I said, it's gonna, if I do it, it'll cost me about 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's what we came up with. Yeah, about $6,500 if you did it yourself. Now, take from that, because this is a residential system, you will be able to deduct the 30% tax credit. So 6,400 times 0.7. So your out-of-pocket cost is going to be $4,480.
That's not bad. No. Not bad.
Yeah, after you've deducted your solar or your tax credit. Now, we already figured out this system will generate, what did we figure? How many kilowatt hours per month? Do you remember that?
Yeah. 4,400.
No, that was per year. Yeah, 4,400. Yeah.
No. Wait, I wrote it down. I think it was
360.
350 or 370?
360.
360. Okay, so 360 a month times 12. Yeah, it gives me 4,320. So basically, you're paying about $1 a kilowatt hour of generation for a year. So real quick, I could figure out that, let's say it's going to be 4,320 kilowatt hours. And if you're spending 20 cents per kilowatt hour, then we're going to have about a 5-year payback on that system, right? Because, it's going to be about five times 20 cents is $1. We could do all the math, but it's still going to come out at about $20 or 5 years. It's a 25-year system. So that's pretty common what you're looking at there. The smaller the system, and this is a pretty small system, the more expensive it is per kilowatt hour of production. If you were to put a 10 times that size, you're going to get a much smaller number per kilowatt hour. But
and a bigger price, no?
Oh yeah. You won't get 10 times the price, but you'll get 7 or 8 times the price.
Yeah.
So yeah, the payback though of 5 years for a 25-year system, that's pretty good return. Now the question is, do you have an extra $5,000 kicking around that you want to spend on solar? And some people do, some people don't. It's kind of a situation where you might hit it big in Bitcoin. I don't know how random that is, but all of a sudden you need some tax benefits because, of course, being in Bitcoin, the reputation is they're not all that worried about following all of the rules. But
Randy, are you familiar with Bitcoin?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Jay, I'll put it to you this way, man. I've been telling people about Bitcoin since 2017, and for me, I look at the legislative bill, and when our government is competing with Bitcoin and in the Fed, like Fed now is nothing but Bitcoin.
right.
And I say that because it's a digital asset, and you know, if we're looking at the American dollar and what the future holds for us, we're competing with everybody else. So crypto is going to be the way to go, and unfortunately, the production of it comes with the cost of electricity. So you know, we're looking at ways to get around that, but I think the government is gonna they're
I
you know
think
they're
I think the best explanation I heard of it is essentially currency is backed by something typically. Whether you know, some people like gold, silver, whatever. Well, that's a long time ago. And that's just a rock anyway. So who cares? So do you want your currency backed by a government or backed by technology? That's kind of where you're putting your faith. And if you believe in the technology, that's fine. If you believe in the government, that's fine. You know, there will be those that'll argue that neither of those is a good bet, but you know, and so I mean, basically all money is simply the promise that somebody will exchange goods and services for it in the future. It's all just based on faith. And if you have faith in that technology, that's it has whatever value people attribute to it. You know, the
you
same as the
remember,
US dollar. You know,
yeah,
the US dollar is just simply how much faith do people have in that somebody will give you something for it in the future. And we've seen currencies that are backed by governments crash in the past. And we've seen cryptocurrencies crash in the past because people have lost faith. Personally, I would prefer to invest in chickens, you know, because you can eat them. So, and you can't eat paper or with crypto, you can't, there's not even any paper to eat. It's all
oh man,
whatever. I don't know. What is it?
yeah.
It's the belief in something virtual.
It's ones and zeros, and like you said, the value is what we place on it.
Yeah, and that's the same with our money, you know, with dollars. They don't even physically exist in most cases. It's just ones and zeros in somebody's computer somewhere.
And
My
somebody's
dad
got to
was,
program it.
yeah, my dad was an economist, and when I was a kid, I asked him what money was, you know, and he said that the best explanation he had for what money is that there's an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and it doesn't have any rocks. So rocks are considered of value. And the richest family on the island owns a huge boulder that's under the ocean that nobody has ever seen. And that's what money is. It's the belief that somebody has something and that there's value associated with it. So anyway, so that what we just designed there is a simple microinverter system. And I would say that if you're doing small residential systems, 9 times out of 10, that's the system that you're going to install. You know, we did it with 10 panels. If you did it with 40 panels, it would just simply be 4 circuits going to that combiner box. And then from that combiner box, you just have a little bit bigger wire that would go to the AC disconnect, and then it would go to the service panel. So So those residential systems are pretty easy to design. When you start getting into commercial systems, you get into a bit more complexity.
Well, what we did there, and like I said, you know, Randy, I don't know if you had any questions or if that helped you, because it helped me a lot. Just, I mean, you know, by it being mine, it gave me an idea of what to do, how to do it. And now it seemed like you just breezed through it, and it was so simple compared to what I had in my mind.
Okay.
You know, like when, like it was just, and again, we still gotta go through chapter 7 next week a little bit more, but that
Yeah.
really helped me put it together in my head. So
Yeah. So what we'll do here, because we're coming to the end here, is let's, for next week, as you guys are studying and getting through chapter 7, identify the things specifically that you'd like to go over. You know, I'm going to put this on you guys, is say, all right, this is the thing. We're coming down to the wire. We've only got 1 or 2 more meetings. So, you know, let's address those items that you have specific questions about. And then in the meantime, go through all the end of the chapter reviews. That's where, you know, the test is really based on those. And but I really want you to understand the totality of how you design these systems. That's why I went into the PV sketch and all of that today, because that's where it becomes practical, you know, how to do it in a real world situation.
and you know what, I know in chapter 7 now, for me, I'm getting it. It's just that remembering all, like, for instance, you got it, the whole steps in here. I don't understand. So right here, you're showing us each step that we have to go through, right?
Well, only if you're doing a string inverter.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that just walks you through step by step by step with a string inverter system.
Okay, because the microinverter was so much simpler, but
It is a lot easier.
All these steps, it's just like, oh, I don't remember. Oh, what's the TFRF? And you know, so
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's only been a few weeks and it's all new to me. So
Yep, you're learning French.
okay.
So and we're asking you to define grammar, you know, in French. So all right, well, we'll call it an end here. I'll post this. If you haven't, you know, when you go into the videos, everything is in the same pool. So not all of the links are listed on that sheet that I distributed to you. But if you go into the YouTube channel, the Jay Warmke one, all of these videos are in there, so you can wander through those as well. So, all right. So
All right.
talk to you guys later. And if you have
All
any
right.
questions through the week, just send me an email.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you, Ren.
Sure thing.